Why do wealthy individuals clean their plates after eating street food? What dark truth lies beneath the surface of a popular roadside vendor's allure? Join us as we unravel a chilling tale of food and its hidden dangers that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Why do prosperous individuals personally clean their eating utensils merely to consume common street fare? What prompts the deranged wanderer to guffaw and label those partaking in the popular dishes as insane? What concealed insight does he possess that others lack? Settle and grab some popcorn, and let us uncover these mysteries in this captivating narrative of a renowned food seller. Once in a lively marketplace, in a Ba there operated a culinary entrepreneur whose creations were the subject of widespread conversation. Her roadside eatery, affectionately dubbed Mamaput, was a permanent fixture amidst the vibrant marketplace, consistently encircled by an eager clientele from early morning till late evening. Patrons queued simply to savor her delightful meals. Some even journeyed from distant hamlets, and skirmishes would erupt over who would be served first. No one could explain the compelling allure of her food. It wasn't just the impoverished who sought it. Even affluent individuals arriving in their luxury vehicles would set aside their prestige, personally cleanse their dishes, and patiently await their turn, alongside all others. One sweltering afternoon, as patrons vied for the vendor's popular fare, a deranged individual passed by, cackling loudly, "You are all devouring live vipers." He bellowed, his voice piercing the market's clamor. Everyone froze for a moment, staring at the figure. Then just as swiftly they dismissed him, chuckling. They labeled him mad and waved him off. "Serpents in her food, clearly he's deranged," one man declared, shaking his head as he retrieved his own plate. The madman continued to laugh, dancing a short distance from the stall. "Vipers, vipers, you are all consuming vipers," he sang, but no one heeded him. They simply perceived him as an ordinary lunatic. They were unaware that his pronouncements would soon overturn their entire reality. The vendor remained behind her counter, smiling as she dished out another serving. Not far from her establishment was another food purveyor, Shady. Her modest shop had once enjoyed a steady stream of patrons too. She had formerly been the town's darling, celebrated for her exquisite jollof rice and fried meats. But ever since the other vendor's food had gained such immense popularity, Shady's customers had all vanished now. She spent most of her days sitting alone, observing the throng at the popular stall from afar. It perplexed her. She and the other vendor prepared similar dishes, utilized comparable ingredients, and even sourced from the same market suppliers. Yet there was no comparison in the volume of their respective crowds. How can she be so successful? Shady mused, wiping perspiration from her brow. What is it she does differently? She had no answers. The vendor's ascent to fame seemed almost uncanny. Even when Shady reduced her prices, it made no discernible difference. Customers still gravitated towards her, as though unable to get their fill of her cooking. As she sat there lost in contemplation, the madman's words from the previous day echoed in her mind. "You are all devouring vipers." The madman had uttered it with such conviction, but she quickly dismissed it. "No, that's impossible," she told herself, yet something deep within her wouldn't let it go. Shady wasn't one to believe in enchantment or superstitions. But as the days passed, she couldn't shake the strange feeling that something was amiss. The way people behaved around the food didn't seem normal. Some of them looked almost desperate, as if they couldn't get enough of it. And why would wealthy individuals who regularly dined in upscale eateries humble themselves to eat from a roadside vendor, even personally cleansing their plates? Something wasn't adding up. One evening, after a long day of meager sales, Shady decided to stroll past the successful vendor's stall again. She stood at a distance, observing the scene unfold. As usual, a crowd had gathered, and there was the proprietor, smiling kindly as she portioned out her meals. Shady shook her head and turned to depart, but the madman's words kept resonating in her mind. Shady then resolved that she required answers. She could not simply sit by and witness her own enterprise crumble without discovering the truth. Her primary concern was her declining revenue. The feeling of unease wouldn't dissipate, no matter how diligently she tried to concentrate on her own business. Her thoughts constantly returned to the renowned vendor and her patron's peculiar conduct. She needed to comprehend what was truly transpiring. She needed assistance. That night, she packed a small satchel and embarked on a journey to visit a celebrated seer in a neighboring village. Mama Kika was renowned for perceiving phenomena that others couldn't. She possessed the ability to peer into people's lives and unveil concealed realities. People claimed she held the power to unearth deeply buried secrets. It was late when Shady reached the modest hut where Mama Kika resided. Shady knocked on the door, and after a moment, it opened, revealing Mama Kika standing there. "You've arrived to confirm what you already suspect," she stated. Shady nodded, unsure how the seer already knew her purpose. Mama Kika stepped aside. The air was permeated with the aroma of herbs and incense. "There's something about her food," Shady began. "People are compelled to consume it in an unnatural way. And a madman declared people were eating vipers." Mama Kika listened in silence. After a prolonged pause she spoke. "You are correct. The food is not as it appears. It is linked to something malevolent, something concealed from the sight of ordinary individuals. But you can uncover the truth." Shady felt a blend of trepidation and resolve as she sat before Mama Kika. She had come for answers, and now she was on the verge of receiving them. But the truth seemed more sinister than she had imagined. "What do I do?" Shady inquired. "How can I ascertain what is genuinely occurring?" Mama Kika regarded her with serious eyes. "There's a method," she stated. "But it will not be simple. If you desire to know the truth, you must follow my instructions precisely." Shady leaned forward, listening intently as the seer elucidated her strategy. Mama Kika handed her a small packet wrapped in cloth. "Take this," she said. "Go to her stall. Tomorrow, when no one is observing, sprinkle the contents near her cooking pot. The truth will reveal itself. But you must exercise caution." Shady's hand trembled as she accepted the packet. She understood she had to do this to salvage her own livelihood. Her business was disintegrating, and she could no longer disregard the peculiar occurrences at the bustling food stand. "Will I be safe?" she asked. Mama Kika affirmed, "If you adhere to my directives, you will witness the truth unharmed. But be prepared for what you may discover." Shady departed the seer's dwelling with the packet in her hand. She was fearful, but also resolute. Tomorrow, she would proceed to the popular stall and execute Mama Kika's instructions. The subsequent day, Shady awoke feeling apprehensive. She kept reflecting on Mama Kika's pronouncements and the small packet concealed in her bag. She was uncertain of what would transpire. But she had to unearth the truth about the vendor. When she arrived at the market, everything appeared normal. People congregated at the stall, jostling and shouting to be served first. It was as if nothing could deter them from consuming her food. Shady observed from a distance, her heart throbbing. She clutched the packet tightly, awaiting the opportune moment. After a while she approached the stall. "Good morning," she greeted, forcing a smile. The proprietor returned the smile, oblivious. As she ladled rice onto a dish, Shady discreetly produced the tied packet. No one was looking at her. Everyone was too occupied awaiting their food. She quickly dispersed the contents of the pouch near the massive cooking vessel. Just as the seer had instructed, her hands quivered as she completed the task, but no one noticed. Their focus was solely on their meals. She stepped back, her gaze fixed on the pot for a brief moment. Nothing occurred. People continued to eat, laugh, and converse, seemingly oblivious. Yet Shady sensed a monumental shift was imminent. Then the immense pot began to tremble subtly. Shady's heart fluttered. She maintained her unwavering focus, anticipating what would unfold next. She questioned her readiness for the revelation. But there was no turning back. Whatever hidden secret lay within was about to be laid bare. Abruptly, the large pot convulsed with greater force. The commotion seized everyone's attention. The crowd hushed, their eyes riveted to the container. Shady stood petrified, witnessing the scene unfold in disbelief. Without warning, the lid of the pot erupted skyward, and a colossal serpent emerged. It was enormous, its lustrous dark scales shimmering under the sun, its bifurcated tongue flicked in and out, emitting a loud sibilant hiss. As it writhed for a few stunned seconds, nobody stirred. Then, in an instant, the entire assembly erupted in shrieks. Individuals abandoned their dishes, food scattering everywhere. As they frantically sought to escape the vendor's stand, the once bustling eatery transformed into a scene of utter pandemonium. Women clutched their offspring and fled, while men tripped over one another, their countenances etched with terror. The serpent ascended higher from the pot, surveying its surroundings with luminous eyes, as if searching for something. Shady's heart hammered against her ribs, yet she found herself unable to avert her gaze from the creature. Was this the very thing the deranged individual had cautioned them about? They had been consuming food from the very same receptacle as a snake. All this time, the vendor, positioned behind her counter, appeared composed initially, but as the serpent fully materialized, she seized the pot's cover, attempting to force it back into place. However, it was too late. The startling truth had been unveiled for all to see. The sight of the gigantic serpent triggered absolute chaos. People shoved and stumbled over each other in their desperate attempts to flee the stall. Dishes clattered to the ground, food dispersed in all directions. But no one paid any mind to the disarray. Their sole focus was escaping the terrifying entity that had emerged from the vendor's pot. Some individuals shrieked, others stood petrified with fear. Even nearby market merchants were gathering their wares and making their escape. The din was deafening with cries of "Snake! Run, snake, run!" filling the air. Shady remained rooted to her spot, her feet seemingly glued to the ground. Her scheme had succeeded, but the reality of what she had exposed left her profoundly shaken. She couldn't fathom it. The massive serpent had been concealed in plain sight, preying on people's unawareness. The large snake produced another hissing sound and slowly settled back into the pot. Everyone watched terrified and aghast. The serpent slid back into the pot and vanished. The pot became silent once more, just as it had been before. Shady's heart raced as she grasped the full gravity of the situation. The snake wasn't merely an animal. It was something ethereal, something malevolent. And now everyone knew the truth. With the truth now laid bare, the vendor's secret was exposed. The crowd had dispersed, but some individuals lingered, whispering and pointing at her. The once vibrant stall, always teeming with life, was now quiet. Plates and utensils lay abandoned on the ground as everyone continued to gaze at the pot. The vendor quietly fled. No one witnessed her departure. By the time people realized she was gone, she had already vanished without trace. No one ever saw her again, and her food stand remained deserted. All her cooking vessels and dishes, still present, the entire town was gripped by fear. People discussed what had happened, and many were too apprehensive to eat from food vendors anymore. They didn't know whom they could trust. Some even ceased purchasing prepared meals outside, worried that other vendors might be like the disappeared proprietor. But gradually, Shady's stall began to attract customers. Once more, her former patrons started return because they trusted her. Even though business was improving, people were still a little wary. They wished to believe that Shady was different, but the dread of what had transpired with the other vendor made them anxious. Little by little, more people returned to purchase her food, attempting to forget the horrifying revelation. Greetings, listeners. Thank you for joining African Tales. By just once more, your continued support is deeply appreciated. Kindly press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more captivating narratives. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to sharing my next story with you.